You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. Your love changes everything. There's something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes every. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dance. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love, something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing.
Good morning, Firmly Rooted family. Happy Thursday morning, Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Ministries, and beautiful day out today. A little cool this morning, a little crisp if you were out there early, but hope you're all having a good day so far. We got quite a few people on board. It looks like X is dominating. Let me see. We got over 15 people on X, which is absolutely fantastic. Great to have everyone doing these devotions and this prayer time with us. Dr. Colleen, good morning. By the way, great question that you had about Bible translations and what some of the newer versions are doing. Thank you for asking that question. Chuck, where'd you go? There you are. Good morning. Connie Sandbrink, Firmly Rooted Greendale. Good morning. We're getting closer and closer to our Greendale camping trip. Looking forward to that. I'm out there on X. Good morning. Bert Reggiani, good morning. Jody, good morning. Dave Donnelly, my cousin, good morning. Alice, good morning. Emily, good morning. Boom. Quite a few other people are on board. Let me pull up the text. We're in 1 John chapter 3, verses 16 to 20. We're just going to do 16 to 20. This is how we know what love is. John does this a lot, especially in his letters. You would think that we actually, by nature, know what love is. And I could go into this whole thing about the evolutionary theory and why love is even on the table as a discussion. It's such an abstract idea. Survival of the fittest would say, love me, love me, love me. But our hearts know that we ought to love others. Matter of fact, nature would say, just survive. Love doesn't have to be a part of it. But we love nonetheless. And strangely, we want to be loved. This is how we know what love is, that Jesus Christ laid down his life for us. Romans 5:8, God demonstrated his great love for us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. There is no greater expression of the kind of love that the Bible talks about, in that Jesus willingly went to the cross and died and bore our sins and paid our punishment so that we wouldn't have to. And because of that, we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. We ought to be humble, and we ought to be submissive, and we ought to be thinking about the other. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Right? If somebody has something and you see someone that doesn't have anything, and you have the ability to help them, knowing that every good gift comes from God, so it's just coming from God and you're given, it's God's gift and you're stewarding it to someone else, wouldn't that be a pure expression of us having the same love God has? And hence we would take care of those hurting brothers and sisters. To not do so would be the absence of love. Verse 18, dear children, listen, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and truth. This is 2 or 3 times now in John's writings, as well as in James, which we're looking at in the men's devotion. It's not good enough just to say the words. Our actions have to follow the words. It's not good enough to be able to spew theology. We got to live the theology out, or else we're just hypocrites. Right? What does it mean to love with words only and not actions? Well, I can tell you, as someone who's done a bit of marriage counseling, you want to know what it looks like? We got married, right? He, she should know that I love them. I even say it sometimes. See, one of the things we forget is true love doesn't stop at a feeling. The feeling moves us to action. Love always gives. True love always gives. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. See, true love always has an expression. Can't be just words. It can't be just an idea or a thought that I know. It has to impact my life. It has to change my life. It has to gnosko, right? It has to be something that I know in my very being, and now I live by it. So, dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. This is how we know that we belong to the truth. We firmly root ourselves in God's unconditional love and his truth. How do we know that we belong to the truth? This is how we know that we belong to the truth and how we set our hearts at rest in his presence. By knowing that we're loving like Jesus, knowing that our outward expression is true to our belief system. I'm saying what I do and I'm doing what I say. Verse 20, if our heart condemns us, we know that God is greater than our hearts and he knows all things. And I just want to leave at this verse. It's an odd place to end, but I don't think we pay enough attention to this. If our hearts condemn us, well, they do. Because we have a memory, we can recall the stupidity, the sins, the choices, the actions. Our hearts are constantly condemning us, judging us, our conscience within us, striking us. I almost wish he would have used the word when our hearts condemn us rather than if, but because it is a when. He then says, we know that God is greater than our hearts and he knows all things. He put that heart there for a reason, and the remembering of those things is part of the whole process of our conscience. But what he's saying is not even that is reality if you know who God is. What am I trying to say? If Jesus bore our sins on the cross and the Bible is correct, it says that he does not treat us as our sins deserve or repay us according to our iniquities, because as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is his love for us. And as far as the east is from the west, so far as he removed our transgressions from us. He has forgotten our sins. He remembers them no more. He is greater than our heart. And we got to remember that even when Satan is poking at our conscience and reminding us of the past, we scream no. We take that thought captive and say it doesn't exist anymore. I know I remember it. Satan, I know you. Stop it. God doesn't even remember it because I'm washed in the blood of the Lamb. I am forgiven. I am set free. So even if our hearts condemn us, we know that God is greater than our hearts and he knows all things. He has set us free. He has made us new, which again should be the motivation for all of our Christian life. Our whole life should be a life of gratitude. Why do you do what you do? Because of what God's done for me. Why do you do that? Why did you say that? Why do you give that up? Because I am so grateful for what God has done for me. It's just small ways in which I give back and live true to my faith. All right, I'll leave it at that. Let me pull myself back out of here. I don't know. Did I say hello to my cousin? I think I did. Alice, good morning. Emily, good morning. All right. I hope that devotion was a blessing to you. Look, there's lots to be thinking about. I love that verse that he's greater than our hearts and knows all things, right? He has superseded our conscience. He has superseded our hearts, and he's given us a new heart by the power of his spirit, right? All right. Oh, have a great day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.